Here's a question that often pops up in interviews. You're looking at a histogram of individual customer ages versus a histogram of average ages from 100 samples. Why do they look so different? The answer lies in understanding probability distributions versus sampling distributions, a small distinction with big implications. A probability distribution describes the spread of individual data points, like the ages or transaction amounts of each customer. It tells us how likely each value is within population. Now look at the left chart. It's noisy, wide, and irregular. That's real-world data. A sampling distribution, on the other hand, describes the spread of a statistic, like a mean, median, or proportion, computed across many repeated samples. See the right-hand chart? It's smoother and narrower. That's because when you take multiple samples and average them, the variation naturally shrinks, thanks to the central limit theorem. So, while a probability distribution deals with individuals, a sampling distribution deals with summaries of groups. And this difference is what makes statistical inference, like confidence intervals or hypothesis testing, even possible. Keep that in mind. One is about raw data, the other is about what happens when we sample repeatedly. Now, let's connect this to why it matters for data science interviews and for real business problems. Whenever you calculate a confidence interval or perform a hypothesis test, you're not using the raw data's probability distribution, you're using the sampling distribution of your statistic. For example, let's say you're estimating the average customer session time on your platform. If you take one sample, you'll get one number. But if you take hundreds of samples, the averages themselves will form a distribution. That's your sampling distribution. Thanks to the central limit theorem, that distribution will look roughly normal, even if your raw session data is skewed. This is what allows you to make statements like, "We're 95% confident the true average lies between these bounds." Here's how you might frame it in an interview. A probability distribution describes individual observations, like the distribution of customer ages. A sampling distribution describes a statistic, such as the mean of 100 samples. Sampling distributions are typically narrower and more normal, due to the central limit theorem. They're fundamental to inference because confidence intervals in hypothesis tests depend on them, not on the raw data distribution. This distinction is what separates simple data visualization from true statistical reasoning, and interviewers love candidates who get that.